Hello, home bosses. Today I want to talk about one of the most common mistakes I see in self-published books. It's something almost every first-time author gets wrong. And the worst part is most people do not even know that they're doing it. I'm talking about the empty space inside your book, the margins, the space at the top, bottom, sides, and near the spine. This is called the frame, and it's one of the 5 layers of something called production design. If you have seen my last video on the 5 layers of production design, you already know what production design is. If you haven't seen it, I will leave a link below this video. So by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for in your own books. You will understand the most important measurement inside a book called the gutter. And you will know how to fix this problem on the next book that you publish. So make sure that you watch to the end. Let's get into it. I want to start by showing you something. Imagine you pick up a book from a shelf. You open it, and as you start to read, you notice that some of the words near the middle of the page are hard to see. The book is binding tightly, so you press it open with your hand to see properly, but even then, the words are squashed. The book is fighting you. Or imagine you buy a journal, you open it to write your first entry, and when you try to write near the middle of the book, the pen has nowhere to go. The page slopes down towards the spine, and your writing gets pushed off center. You cannot reach the inside edge with your pen. This is what happens when the frame layer is wrong. And it's so common in self-published books. I have seen it in picture books, I've seen it in journals, I've seen it in activity books, and I've seen it even in my own early books. The good news is that this is one of the easiest things to fix once you know what to look for. So what is the frame layer? The frame is the empty space inside your book, the space around your content, the margins. Imagine each page as a window. The frame is the empty border around the picture in the window. If the frame is the right size, the picture looks balanced. If the frame is too small, the picture is unbalanced. And if the frame is too big, the picture feels lost. So for a book, the frame has 4 parts. The top margin, which is the space above your content, the bottom margin, the space below your content, and the outside margin, the space on the outer edge of the page, furthest from the spine, and the inside margin. That's the space on the inner edge of the page, closest to the spine. So this last one, the inside margin, is the most important. And it has a special name. It's called the gutter. The gutter is the part of the frame layer that catches most self-publishers out. So we're going to spend most of this video talking about it. The gutter is the inside margin closest to the spine of the book, and when a book is bound, the pages are glued or sewn together on one edge, and that edge becomes the spine. And because the pages are stuck together at the spine, that area of the page disappears into the binding. So when you read a book, you cannot see all the way to the very edge of the page near the spine. Some of it is hidden inside the binding. And the more pages your book has, the deeper that hidden area becomes. So this is why the gutter needs to be bigger than you might think. If you put your text or your illustrations too close to the spine, 2 things can happen. The first is that the words or the image disappear into the binding, and the reader cannot see them properly. They have to force the book open just to read. And even then, the focal point of an illustration might be cut in half by the spine. The second is even worse for low-content books. If someone cannot comfortably write near the spine of a journal, the journal is broken. It does not matter how lovely the cover is. It does not matter how thoughtful the prompts are. If the user cannot use the page, the book has failed at its main job. And this is why I always say that frame is the layer where most self-published books quietly fail. The author does not realize it's wrong, the cover designer does not catch it because they only work on the cover, and KDP does not warn you about it because the file technically meets the requirements. So the book goes live and the buyer gets a journal they cannot use or a picture book where the illustration is cut off by the spine. That happens a lot in children's books when you make a spread where the whole image goes over two spreads, and sometimes that can look a little bit off or wrong. But once you know about the gutter, you will never make this mistake again. So let me share the minimum gutter sizes Amazon KDP recommends. These are based on how many pages your book has. The more pages, the bigger the gutter needs to be. This is because thicker books have a deeper binding, so more of the page near the spine gets hidden. For books with up to 150 pages, the minimum gutter is 0.375 inches. For books with 151 to 300 pages, the minimum gutter is 0.5 inches. And for books with 301 to 500 pages, the minimum gutter is 0.625 inches. And for books with 501 to 700 pages, they are quite hefty books, then the minimum gutter is 0.75 inches. I will put a link to the KDP guidelines below this video so you can check the exact numbers for your book. One important thing to know, these are minimums, not targets. If you can give your book a slightly bigger gutter than the minimum, the reading experience will be better. I usually go a little above the minimum on every book I publish because that way I make absolutely sure that I create a book that people can read and write in properly. So now I want to share 2 tools that make this part of the process so much easier because, telling you all these gutter numbers can be a little bit overwhelming and a little bit complicated. So these 2 tools are really going to make your life easier. And the first one is called Tangent Templates. And this is honestly my favorite KDP tool and the best one I have ever bought. They have a tool inside Tangent Templates called the KDP Helper, and that works out your exact book dimensions for you. You tell it your trim size and your page count, and it tells you the exact measurements you need, including the gutter. And it saves so much time and stops you making mistakes. I'm not an affiliate with Tangent Templates. I just genuinely love it, and I have never had any problems with formatting when I use it. So I will leave a link below the video. And the second tool is called Bookbolt. And this one is really good if you're just starting out with KDP, because it's an all-in-one tool that helps you with research, design, page templates for interiors, and setup. So if you're new and feeling a bit overwhelmed with all of this, Bookbolt brings a lot of the setup into one place. And I do have an affiliate link for Bookbolt, which means that if you sign up through my link, I earn a small commission at no extra cost to you, but you can also get 20% off if you use the coupon, the Home Boss. So I leave the link below the video. So there are 2 other things to understand in the frame layer, and those are the bleed and safe area. Let's talk about bleed first. Bleed is the extra space you add to your design that goes past the edge of the page. It only matters if any part of your design touches the edge of the page. Things like a background color or a full page illustration, a decorative border that runs to the edge. So when a book is printed, the pages are printed slightly bigger than the final size, and then they are cut down to the final size at the printer. And this cutting is not perfect, so you need extra space past the edge of that page so that when the page is cut, the design still reaches the edge without any white lines showing. The standard bleed amount for KDP is 0.125 inches, and that is 1/8 of an inch. So if your book is 6 by 9 inches, your design file needs to be 6.25 by 9.25 inches. The extra 0.125 inches on each side is the bleed. So say you design your page with a background color that goes right to the edge of the pages, And if you forget to add bleed, you will get white lines on your printed book. It looks unprofessional and there is no way to fix it after the book is printed. Now, let's talk about safe area. Safe area is the opposite of bleed. It's the space inside the edge of the page where you put your important content. Things like text, faces, in illustrations, page numbers. And it's called safe area because it's an area where the printer doesn't cut the page. So I recommend keeping all important content at least 0.25 inches inside the trim line, and that is 1/4 of an inch. And the reason is the same as bleed. When the page is cut, the cut is not perfect, so your text or important content is too close to the edge and it might get cut off when the page is trimmed. So, to summarize this part, bleed is the extra space past the edge for your design, and the safe area is the buffer inside the edge for your important content. And the easiest way to check the frame layer on a book you have already published is to get a print-proof copy. I have to admit that because I have Amazon Prime, I usually just order a normal copy of my book like a customer would. I still get the royalties, so I don't pay full price, and it takes very little time to get to me, whereas a proof copy takes longer to be delivered. The last book of mine I ordered on a Monday, and I received it on the Wednesday, so that is really quick. It's a great way to check that your book is okay, and the best way to do that is to open the book on a flat table, try to make it lie completely flat without forcing it open. And now look at every spread. That means every left and right page facing each other. Ask yourself these questions. Can I see every word on the page? Or is some of the text hidden by the spine? Can I see every important part of the illustration? Or is part of it disappearing into the binding? If this is a journal, can I comfortably write all the way to the inside edge of the page with a normal pen? And if your answer to any of these is no, you have a frame problem. The good news is that you can fix it. Just upload a new interior to Amazon. Your book will go back into review, but it usually doesn't take long, and it's the best way to ensure that your buyer will get a book that they can use without problems, and you will know what to do next time. And the next book after that will look even more professional. So with every book you make, you get better and better. So don't worry if your first book is not up to scratch. We all made books at the beginning that weren't very good, but I think in time you just keep learning and you just keep getting better. So let me share the 3 most common frame mistakes I see in self-published books. The first is text too close to the spine. This happens when the author uses the default margins in their design template and does not increase the gutter to match the page count of their book. The fix is to always check the KDP minimum gutter for your specific page count and to set the gutter bigger than the minimum if possible. Or if you're using tangent templates or Bookbolt, just leave a little extra space. The second is no bleed on full page art. This happens when the author designs an illustration that touches the end of the page but does not extend the illustration past the edge by 0.125 inches. The fix is to always set your design file with bleed before you start, not after. So if your book is an 8.5 by 11 activity book, for example, and the design inside goes right to the edge, you have to set up your page size to be 8.625 by 11.25 on Canva or on whichever formatting tool you're using. Remember that if you publish with bleed, the size will not be exactly 8.5 by 11. It will have to include the extra for bleed. The third is important content too close to the outside edge, and this happens when the author wants to fit as much on the page as possible and pushes content right to the trim line. And the fix is to always keep at least 0.25 inches between the edge of your important content and the edge of the page. These 3 mistakes are the difference between a book that looks self-published and one that looks like it belongs on a shelf next to a traditionally published title from a proper publisher. But we can publish with really good quality as well. We just have to follow all those little details that I've just told you about to make the book look really polished and professional. So let me quickly recap. The frame layer is the empty space inside your book, the margins. And the most important part of the frame is the gutter. That's the inside margin closest to the spine. And the minimum gutter size depends on how many pages your book has. The more pages, the bigger the gutter. And bleed is the extra space past the edge of the page for designs that touch the edge. Safe area is the buffer inside the page for your important content. And the easiest way to check your books is to print a proof copy, open it flat on the table, and look at every spread. And if all of this is going over your head and you think it's far too complicated, get Tangent Templates or Bookbolt and it will be really easy. If you're publishing fiction or non-fiction, you will probably need a formatting tool like Atticus, which is the one I use, or you could use the free Word templates that Amazon KDP provides, and I'll leave a link below the video to that. So if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And this is the first video in my new series on production design. Over the next few weeks, I will be sharing one video on each of the 5 layers. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the rest. And you can also find this topic and other resources inside my Homeboss Academy membership. I will leave a link below the video, and I have created a mini course on production design inside the membership. So that's where I will be adding more lessons as the series go on. And that's where you can all ask questions and we go in real detail to any of these topics that I talk about here on YouTube. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever picked up one of your own published books and noticed a frame problem? Or are you about to start a new book and you're feeling more prepared now after you've watched this video? Let me know. So thank you so much for watching, and take care of your business and take care of yourself. See you in the next video. Bye for now.